downtime is reduced, and we were tracking stuff 2 years ago into CheckProof, and we done savings on site around 20% savings to the cost of the site.
Welcome, David and Scott from Brice Aggregates. I'm Anju Kanasagi, Media Relations and PR Manager at CheckProof. It is my very pleasure to have you here on the call. CheckProof has just launched the Industry Excellence Award, and you are our inaugural recipients. So a warm congratulations to you both, and thank you for joining on this call. David and Scott, would you just like to quickly introduce yourselves and tell us what you do on site?
Yeah, so I work with the procurement and maintenance side of things on site. So buying in parts and then relaying onto the teams sort of what's happening within the deviations themselves.
Yep, and I'm Scott. I'm the production manager at Leanworth Quarry for Brice Aggregates. And the main thing I'm looking for is stability within the site and get something even coming up each day.
But first of all, congratulations. What was your reaction when you heard that you'd got the award?
Well, for me, honestly, it was a huge sense of pride, not just for me personally, but for the entire team across the site, everyone from the operators, maintenance, through to procurement and the weighbridge and management, because they've all played a role, played a part in getting the system into the site and using the system on a day-to-day operations.
What does operational excellence look like for you guys day to day?
So realistically, it's looking at sort of seamless one truth on a system. So there's no confusion on what's happening where on site and liaising with the teams. So there's the messaging within the deviations, so everyone knows what's happening. If there's a problem with a machine that one of our operators has, they know when it's been ordered and when the parts have arrived, so then they can fit the parts. So that whole thing is transitional along a linear line.
See, for me, it's about CheckProof. It's been constant, it's reliable, and it gives me visibility, and it makes the site more predictable. To understand it makes we run a lot safer and really efficient as well. And part of the CheckProof is management into all these different areas, and it gets us to see, because we're on quite a big site and we're able to navigate through all the different areas and different departments at a faster rate.
What were the biggest pain points, do you feel, before you decided to go digital and go with CheckProof system?
Oh, well, there was one, an operator had filled in the paperwork, and his machine went down, and I traced to when the guy or the operator first raised the issue in the machine, and I tracked that back to it was 6 months prior to this through his paperwork, and nobody had bothered to pick it up or drive it forward, so they'd lost sight, and it got to the time that the operator got frustrated and stopped putting his issue on his machine. And I thought from that way forward, if we had an app like CheckProof up and running, it would highlight and notify the correct people. So now CheckProof, once the guys raise a deviation, it sends that deviation to the right person to take ownership and accountability for that issue, and that's what we're getting quite a lot. We get a lot faster at, and it's better because we get somebody actually owning it and acting on it. Once the team started to see it, they were getting answers for stuff they were raising. That's what accelerated the change. It was the buy-in from the frontline teams. And that's what pushed it forward. They're getting to see the raising deviations. They were getting to see engineers come out. They're starting to see stuff get in order at a lot faster pace than what they did before, where before they thought they were just getting ignored and it was just a tick box exercise from the paperwork.
Yeah. And do you feel that's really like key to this sort of frontline buy-in?
I do feel that CheckProof as well does quite a lot of our compliance stuff as well now, because it was quite difficult in the beginning to get service records for any of the equipment we had and all that. So what we do now, we gather all our service records and we attach them to the units for the equipment and the machinery. So we've got a history sitting there now. So that helps us predict our future incidents. So we've always got a rough idea of where the site is going to trip us up next, and we try and intercept that before it trips us up. It makes us sort of more predictive than reactive.
Yeah. So do you feel that being able to sort of predict, needs for parts, etc., has been sort of contributed to a major cost saving?
Yeah, well, it brings our downtime is reduced. We were tracking stuff about 2 years ago into CheckProof, and we done savings on site around 20% savings to the cost of the site. I've not looked at it lately, but we're far more swifter than what we were then.
That's an incredible saving, 20% for the cost of the site.
Yeah.
Wow. And what do you think the biggest shift for your frontline teams have been? How has the adaptation been for them?
Specialist support and for the guys and stuff like that. And then when they started seeing that the specialist teams were coming in to help them, they took it on board really quick, and they do the checks, and if they can't do, and what was quite good, we were before we were using CheckProof, no one was accountable for driving a repair forward. But now with CheckProof, there's always someone accountable for taking it to the next level to get end results.
That's amazing. You've sort of kind of said this in different ways, but can you give us a specific example of impact that the system has had?
Would be the Hitachi today.
Yeah.
Yes. So we had a deviation raised as a serious malfunction, which shoots straight into the management of the site. And I would say within half an hour, we have Hitachi on site. So we're calling Hitachi up, getting the engineers out. We're able to send them all the details, which was raised on the deviation from the screen of the Hitachi 690. We sent that up to Hitachi, giving them the fault codes and getting engineers on site. That's just one today.
Yeah. So we have like a breakdown folder on the equipment as well. So we again can look at repeat breakdowns, see if there's any repetition within that.
Can you mention any measurable differences that you've seen since implementing CheckProof system?
Yeah, it gives us our predictability on a site. So if we start tracking all the deviations, it puts us into one part of the quarry. So you've got to understand our quarry. We've got a big production plant, and we have 5 kilometers of conveyor belt system. So the way the deviations get raised, CheckProof does us an Excel spreadsheet, and we could single out what part of the business or the quarry itself is shooting up the most deviations. And that's normally like giving us an indication that we've got an issue in that part of the quarry. We need to go and have a far deeper look in and sorting these issues out. And lately, over the last 5 months, I've been running this on within CheckProof. It's been quite good at predicting, or we're able to predict where our next load of issues will be on site.
Yeah, so it's track and traceability with our guys, so they understand what's happening where on site. If we've got one of the guys on the plant who wants to know where a stock of bearings is, then he knows that that's going to be ordered, and then they can fit it. Until that, it's kind of a bit of a stalemate. So as soon as it's ordered, deviation then changes in, and then arrived on site, I rectify it, and then they can then attend to the other deviation, and know where they're needed and required on site.
Yeah, amazing.
How much do you think you've saved since you've been doing your role?
Is that for CheckProof, or is that across just
across the lot? Because it's always filled with CheckProof in the background.
Yeah, I would say probably about £8,000 a month.
£8,000 a month that you've saved on, sorry.
So that would just be on suppliers. So again, using CheckProof, this is still in development. Another thing we're going to try and move forwards, but putting supplier prices into the units as well. So then if I'm on annual leave, then someone else can jump on, right, this is the contact, this is the part, they know where to go, and the rough tracking price of those units as well.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so with that, we wouldn't be waiting 2-3 days for a part. I have another supplier that might be able to do it same day. So for our quarry, that's sort of,
and it gives us time to hunt for parts with the predictability. That's the difference where we're saving, because we're getting the notice that CheckProof is throwing up for us. It's giving us time before we have a failure, before we're firefighting. And then when the firefighting starts, that's when the cost goes through the roof for a quarry like this.
Yeah.
They make the effort where, see, with CheckProof and all that, it's like their voice is getting heard. So when they're raising stuff, and then the way we look at the Brice as a whole, you could talk to anybody within the team all the way up to the top, and it's all about helping you achieve what you need to do at your day at work. It's like an upside down tree, really. So the management do support the workers.
Rich also told me about this amazing long conveyor, and you mentioned it as well. This conveyor belt that is how many kilometers? 5
kilometers, yeah, 5, 6, yeah. Keeps on getting bigger.
That's incredible. So how do you sort of maintain that with the help of CheckProof, I guess?
Well, what we have the conveyor system, we have 6 of them numbered, and we've also done like the motorway, the motorway tags that you have going up the conveyor system, up motorways. We have each part numbered every sort of like 10 meters all the way through, and then we have checks. So we have a weekly check on each individual conveyor. So go through the head, the structure, the tails, and then with the length of it, we just put the number on where the issue is, and order the parts and everything in for the guys when they start raising deviations.
So just in terms of, obviously you got the award for operational excellence. So if other companies are looking to do a similar journey, implementing a system to achieve the same sort of high level of operational excellence as you guys have, what would your advice be to them?
Get it on at your front line teams straight away.
Excellent. And how will you celebrate winning the award?
I think we'll buy some biscuits for some of the guys and produce more stuff.